is a hugely important question and really what I think is the key to success in the printing process. Hello and welcome to Delightful Learning. I'm Stephanie O and I'm a graphic designer and creative educator, and I'm here to help you navigate the creative process. Today I'm sharing with you 5 of the most frequently asked questions that I get about printing. First up, what kind of printing and what kind of paper? This is a big question to start with, and I could really do an entire video on this question alone. But the first choice you have to make with printing is which kind of printing process makes the most sense for this project. If you're printing a large quantity of something, like over 1,000 copies, you might choose offset printing, whereas if you're printing fewer than 1,000, you might print digitally. There can be differences in the way colors appear with these different processes and other limitations when it comes to sizes and types of paper. You might also choose specialty printing techniques like letterpress or embossing, but these would require a print shop that offers these capabilities, and they aren't as common as digital printing. There are lots of choices to make when it comes to selecting printers and papers. Coated versus uncoated, spot colors versus process. My best advice for you would be to design with the end in mind. It's best to know the limitations of your chosen printing process in order to design pieces that are able to be printed. A great example of this is a common request I get about printing in white ink. This has become really popular because the technology has changed drastically in the last 10 years, and it's much more common for printers to offer digital white ink printing. But digital white ink and offset white ink are both actually not totally opaque and don't really create a super bright contrast. The best way to print in white is actually to foil emboss, like you might with gold or silver foil, but this is super expensive. If you have your heart set on white ink and design your project that way, then get to the printing process and are unhappy with the brightness of digital white ink, are you willing to spend the extra money to upgrade to foil, which is basically the Cadillac of printing processes? Next, where should I print my project? I would say locally, if at all possible. Try to work with a local printer. There are thousands of small local print shops around the world, and by working with a trusted partner in person, you'll get lots of benefits. First, you can ask questions and get direct help from the professionals. With a lot of the online vendors, you're just one of thousands of customers, and you might not get the individualized attention you would with a local shop. Also, you'll get to see printed proofs in person and even run a press check, which means visiting the printer when they're ready to run your job. At a press check, you'll get a final look at the finished project and have a last chance to catch any major errors. This can save money by catching issues before they're printed and mailed to you from who knows where. This is another reason to print locally because you'll save time and money by skipping the shipping. When should I submit my files to print? This is a hugely important question and really what I think is the key to success in the printing process. Most printers need at least 2 weeks to set up your files, run proofs, and fit you into their production schedule. Check with your printer to find out exactly how long they need. They often go through busy seasons like everyone else, so it's best to talk with your printer and get a schedule way ahead of time. For specialty printing processes like letterpress, I'd recommend more like 3 to 4 weeks at the absolute minimum. There might be printing plates that need to be created or specialty papers that need to be ordered. And my main advice here would be to build a relationship with a trusted printing partner. Rely on their expertise throughout the process. They might even be able to help you when you're in a jam and you need to get something printed kind of quickly. Printing can be stressful. It's one of the most expensive parts of the design process. Minimize this stress by sending your files with lots of time to spare. This will allow for any issues to be solved along the way. My next most frequently asked question is, why is printing so complicated? These days we kind of take printing for granted because most of us have a compact inkjet printer of some kind sitting at home, ready to have infinite copies of our documents in physical form at the press of a button. But we have forgotten very quickly how new this technology is. Printing has a long and winding history that I'll get into in another video, but mainly it's always good to remember that making copies of our documents is actually a bit more complicated than we realize. It wasn't until 30 years ago that we really had this technology at our fingertips, but before then, printing had gone through 1,000 years of evolution with many different processes being developed along the way. Now we have all these various printing types for different purposes, and each one has its own intricacies. Each project that you print really has its own unique challenges and requirements. Another reason to have a trusted printing partner to help navigate these ins and outs. I often hear clients ask, how can I create printed pieces that look super professional? There are so many choices to be made in the printing process, types of papers, inks, finishes, and it can all be a little overwhelming to navigate these choices. To make printed pieces that look top-notch, I would recommend selecting 1 or 2 design elements to highlight and then selecting a printing process that would best showcase these features. Maybe you're dying to throw in a splash of neon pink. You probably want to choose offset printing with a Pantone spot color in order to get the brightest pink possible. If you printed this same neon ink color digitally, it would be quite a bit duller because it would be a CMYK build of the color. If this is confusing and you'd like to know more, head to my website at delightfulthings.co and book a consultation with me where I can help answer your printing questions. I'd be happy to guide you through the process and help you create print-ready files, deciding on the best printing options or troubleshooting the process. What I would say is that the big name online vendors are so popular that certain printing techniques and formats are becoming very commonplace, and your work might end up looking like everyone else's. If you choose a local printer and work with them on unique choices, your work will look more professional and stand out from the crowds. Do you have a favorite local printer? Give them a shout out below in the comments. I would love to connect other creative business owners to these valuable resources. Subscribe to my channel for more tips on the creative process. Click notifications to get updates about when new videos are posted, and visit me online at delightfulthings.co to enroll in one-on-one creative coaching or book your next design project. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next week.